A warm good evening to all the participants. I take pleasure in welcoming you to this 107th WiseViews Leadership Conversation, and we are excited because we have Mr. Suheim Sheikh with us. He's the founder of the Yacht Club of Hyderabad. He's going to talk about creating international sports persons from Indian grassroots, and it is going to be very, very interesting and offbeat. Such topics, such themes, and such focus areas are not generally part of discourse in management education, but we are now on leadership. So we look at all walks of life, leadership coming from all parts. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Suheim Sheikh. Good evening, sir, and welcome.
Hi.
Let me share my screen and do a brief introduction and then hand over back to you, sir. So WiseViews Leadership Conversations are held on Fridays 6:30 p.m. We have completed so far 106, and as I said, this is the 107. This is with Mr. Suheim Sheikh, and this intro and the opening remarks will be till 6:55 p.m. and after that we'll have the Q&A as long as it takes. I'm just taking the liberty. We have the leader, Mr. Suheim Sheikh, with us. Let me take the pleasure of introducing him to you. Mr. Suheim Sheikh is the president and chief coach at the YCH Sports Foundation, which was otherwise the Yacht Club of Hyderabad, and is a council member of the Yachting Association of India, the National Sports Federation for Sailing in India. Mr. Suheim Sheikh architected award-winning software products for the financial services industry. He was a global pioneer in the realm of financial crime software, having its products installed at more than 75% of Indian banks and stock exchanges and financial institutions across the world. Mr. Suheim Sheikh traded his clicks on the mouse with the ones on his camera, pursuing his passion of photography and sailing. An accomplished international sailor himself, Mr. Suheim has produced 10 national champions, 75 national medalists, and 10 state champions through his NGO, which is known as the Yacht Club of Hyderabad, one of the largest not-for-profit training establishments teaching economically challenged kids to sail competitively at international levels by providing them full service patronage with a fleet of more than 165 boats. Let me read this again. The Yacht Club of Hyderabad is the largest not-for-profit training establishment teaching economically challenged kids to sail competitively at international levels by providing them with full service patronage with a fleet of more than 165 boats. This is amazing, sir.
Thank you.
He also created the Project Navika for the girl sailor, and one of his proteges, Preeti Kongara, very popular now, has been selected for the 2023 Asian Games at Zhangzhou, China. The project has had as many as 9 girls selected to represent India at multiple world championships. 20 sailors trained by Mr. Sheikh have been absorbed by the Army and the Navy sports schools, and some have been selected into the forces as officers with promising careers. Mr. Sheikh received the Admiral Kohli Trophy for the promotion of sport of yachting. Mr. Suheim Sheikh was in the 1981 batch of the prestigious Hyderabad Public School, Begumpet, and also an alumnus of the prestigious IIT Madras. Thank you once again, sir, for agreeing to speak with us. This is an amazing opportunity for us to learn from you. And I will also take a moment to introduce my esteemed colleague, Professor Prasad. He has 3 decades of rich experience as an entrepreneur, as an academic, and also in between as a corporate professional. He obtained his BTech from IIT Bombay and PGDM from IIM Kolkata, and he presented several papers in the conferences, edited books, and also written many articles in various journals in India and abroad. Welcome, Professor Prasad.
Thank you.
Sir, over to you. We have 20 minutes of opening remarks, and we are all ready to understand your journey over the several years that you have stuck to. Apart from having a great, thriving career, managing some fantastic products in software, you have switched to sailing and started impacting the grassroots. We are all ears. Over to you, and thank you, sir.
Well, software and everything was my previous life, and it's almost about 15 years since I've even written a line of code and maybe more than that. And yeah, so I think the introduction was clear. So let me get straight into what I'm going to show you today, and that is, you must forgive me, but this is definitely an extended version of the TED talk I had given 2 to 3 years ago. But the background of the information obviously remains the same. So I will start with this slide, and that is, you might be wondering what this moon is all about and how about tonight. What is the meaning of how about tonight? So I walked into, after I finished, moved out of my company, I was still on the board, and I just said, okay, now what do I do next? I had these skills of being able to sail, and I'd sailed at the competitive level at some point in my life. And I decided to go to the government, and I went to a small little office on the other side of Tangburn, which is Hussain. And I said that I spoke to an officer there, and I said, look, I want to start a small sailing club because no normal person who does not have a membership of a very, very elite club or belonging to the Army or Navy, they don't have access to this beautiful lake, which is right in the middle of the city. Very few cities have these a lake in the middle of the city. So let's put it into action, and let's not relegate it to only the elite who have memberships of Sikandrabad Club and other clubs. So he said, yeah, that's a good idea, and I'll get back to you in a week. I was very skeptical that anything will happen, because one is always skeptical. At least I was very skeptical then about government. I no longer am skeptical about any government. So he said, okay, I will introduce you to the Metropolitan Commissioner, one Mr. Acharya, and you will have to just go to him and explain your case to him. So I had already made a proposal. I gave it to them, and the proposal went up to Mr. Acharya, who was an IS officer who was heading the entire process. So I walked into his room. I was told before, this was many years ago, about 15 years ago. I was a little younger, and the person there told me, look, take a slightly elderly person also with you. It'll add some value. So I did that too. And we walked in, and he was reading the proposal at that point of time. And I introduced myself. He didn't look up from his paper. And he said, he didn't say anything. So I just said, sir, how do you like the proposal? He said, yeah, he nodded his head. So I said, when can we get this permission? So he just looked up and he says, when do you want this permission? So I said, sir, just jokingly, I didn't expect it to take, I thought it'll take about a year to give us the permission. I said, how about tomorrow morning, sir? So he said, how about tonight? So I said, wow. I mean, my heart just swelled up, and I said, wow. The permission was to get access to the water for anybody from Hyderabad. And he said, how about tonight? So I said, wow. That's why my first slide is, how about tonight? This is what they gave us. The next morning we went over there. Actually, there were a lot of small bushes and all that. It wasn't even as clean. This was after a little bit of cleaning was done. There were no trees there. There were only a couple of trees on the side. This is what we got, and we transformed it. It's quite amazing. After this, a horticulturist told me that if you start occupying a piece of land, for some reason the trees start growing. So this is what happened. The transformation. We got so many boats. And this is what it looks like typically on a racing day at Hussain Sagar. A lot of you might not have been there, but if you come to the yacht club, which is in Sanjeevaya Park, you'll sometimes see things like this. This is way back in 2009 in the city, even bigger now. We started with just 3 little boats, and today we have 165 boats. So this is 2009 we started. In 2023, we have 165 boats and growing. So this was a moment of inspiration. So everyone gets charged up, and something inspires them at some point of time. And this was what actually happened to me. I used to spend a lot of time working with the the sweepers and the toilet cleaners, or janitors of my campus. And when I'd spend a lot of time getting them jobs, making sure that they get a lot of money, because they were contract labor and they weren't part of the permanent staff, and getting them to be permanent seemed like a Herculean task. So I would just keep giving them odd jobs and stuff like that, because I was looking after various things on campus, the canteen and the magazine and the festival. So one fine day, I found, this was in my final year, and I found all the sweepers of the campus had come outside my room. So I thought something serious had gone wrong. So I said, what happened? So they said, the 2, 3 of them told me in Telugu that they have chosen me to be their leader on campus. That was really, really touching. I said this was really nice because I'd worked with them for 2, 3 years, and the existing student representative was leaving campus, and they told him, and then they came and told me that I was to now be their, they had chosen me to be their student representative. So that was a really nice thing, and I think that might have sowed the seeds of the kind of work I'm doing today. So let me just show you the kids. We work only with underprivileged children, and we have taken a few from regular classes, but largely this is what, if I can play this video, you get an idea of what they look like when they join. So this is just a small video taken, and from a bunch, this is already a pre-selected bunch. This is already a pre-selected bunch, and we select from these. Sorry. Okay, so let's go on to, one of the first few students I had, a guy called Rajnikant. This was probably a little after he joined, but the story is that he came in there. We had only 2 students, and this Rajnikant came in there, and he was lifting some buckets and helping around the place, which I asked him how old was he, and he said, I'm 12 years old. So I said, are you studying? He said, yes, I'm studying. I said, what about your parents? Do your parents know you're here? He said, I don't have any parents. So I said, then who's looking after you here? How did you come here? He said, my brother works in the park and I'm here just to help. So I said, well, you're not supposed to help. This is not right. So would you like to sail? And he said, yes, I definitely would like to sail, because I think his eyes were set on the other kids who were sailing. There were 3 other kids who were sailing. And this was his first few days. And in 2 years, he became national champion. So this was the kind of training. This is Rajnikant. I think one of the pictures that came in the papers of Rajni. And he was all over the papers like this. This is Rajnikant for you, just an orphan with no means. Now he's a qualified life-saving specialist with the Yacht Club. He's still serving. I think he's been with us now almost about 12 years. This is Rajni, and he's also a coach. The growth I can show you quickly. This is our first championship. If you see my cursor, you can see Rajnikant over there. These were the other kids. And this was our first championship. We'd gone to Khadakwasla Lake in Pune. We had only 5 entries. In Chennai Harbour 2012, we had 8 entries. Then our first gold medal in Bhopal 2014. That's when we realized that we were doing something really right and good, because we won the national gold. And the kid in the middle was the guy who won. The rest of the part of our team, we were 11 people. Went on to the India International Regatta in Chennai. 2015, we had 13 people, 13 kids. Chennai Harbour became 25. Krishnapatnam Port, January 2018, 32. And today it's about 131 kids we are working with. So it's been a large growth, and our focus today is mobilization, and we are growing more and more people now. We're trying to get in as many kids as possible. So small story after Rajnikant of Sachin. This is Sachin when he started sailing. This is a kid called Gautam who's training him on, this is his first ride. Within a few months, he was out in the Bay of Bengal learning how to sail, and he was taking part in his first international regatta. Actually, it was quite strange because they held the international in Chennai, and he got an international bronze. This was in the junior fleet, but whatever you may say, Sachin won the bronze, and we are very proud of him. Subsequently, within a year or 2, he joined the Navy. He joined the Naval Sailing School, and he had the opportunity to meet the then Defense Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. And this was a big moment for us as the Yacht Club, for the Naval Sailing School, which is the Navy Boy Sports School. And to his right, you'll see my cursor going around. That's Durga Prasad. A little story about him next. A lot of our kids, 21 of them, have been put into the armed forces. They join the Army and the Navy sailing schools, and subsequently, some of them get absorbed into the Army and the Navy. So this is a picture of these kids and their parents at the Yacht Club of Hyderabad. And this is a picture of them having been selected. And this is a picture of them as already part of the Navy. And some of them, of course, they had gone for the selections and on their way to becoming hopefully naval officers. The 21 of them, some of them are here, some of them are not. But this is a picture of these guys, most of them from villages, some of them from the urban poor in Hyderabad. The boys from Rasulpura, this is Durga Prasad. I showed you the same picture of him next to Nirmala Sitaraman and near Sachin. This is one of his first days on the water. He becomes the club champion a few months after he joins. And he becomes the state champion. That's Durga Prasad growing up. Then he becomes the national champion. This is him at Krishnapatnam port. So this is Rasulpura boy, Durga Prasad. Rasulpura is a small shanty town very close to Sanjeevaya Park, where we operate from. And then he goes for the Asians. And he is selected for the World Championships. So he goes to the World Championships. He goes to the World Championships. That's the story of Durga Prasad. His classmate Gautam becomes the state champion pretty fast after joining. National bronze. And then he becomes the national champion in a senior class. That's Gautam for you. And today Gautam has been selected by the Indian Navy and he joined the naval sailing team. The guy in the middle is Gautam, the guy on the left is Durga Prasad. They're all part of the Navy, and the guy on the right is Vamsi, all three from our stables. They've learned their sailing with us and have joined. They're all now naval officers. Small story of Vaishnavi. I'm just doing a lot of case studies. Vaishnavi, this is a picture of hers winning a small championship in Krishnapatnam port. And subsequently, she goes for the Italy Worlds. You can see her on the left top. You can see her at Lake Garda in Italy. She was selected to represent India. This is another picture of the same championship on the right. And then in 2021, she wins the gold at the Senior National Championship. The ones I showed you before were the juniors. And the one on the left is her receiving the prize. And she has represented, before she turned 15, she's represented India at Spain, Portugal, Oman, Abu Dhabi, Italy, and France. A small story of Rishabh Nair. This is him being taught by one of our little coaches. He becomes the state champion, subsequently national champion, 3 years in a row, 2015, 16, and 17. And serendipity, in a sense, it was coincidental that I also took part in the 2017 championship, and I won the Masters, and he won the Juniors. So that was one of my favorite photographs. A small story of Shirisha Karri from Padigyal village in Telangana. She was a girl who joined us, who was a little angry, indifferent, a little cold, for whatever reason. She was not a very happy sailor. She did not want to sail. We found it difficult to get her to eat all the kind of nutrition and food we give her. Sirisha wins a gold medal, and you can see she's already started a little bit of smiling. Then she is received at the railway station by her school teachers and her principal and the people in the village. She's celebrated within the village by the police and other people, all the seniors in the village, and the society which looks after her, the NGO which looks after her. That's R.S. Praveen Kumar of the Social Welfare Department. He's an IPS officer, greeting her and giving her a shawl. And finally, she's smiling. She's taking part, and she kind of jumped from the junior fleet into the senior fleet. And subsequently, I think was finally placed India number 6 or India number 5. Now, this is the bigger story. This is the big story of Preeti Kongara, Nalakunta Government School, Hyderabad, which is again near the lake. She was part of the Navika project, because the Navika project takes care of sailing, sports, education. You can see the pencil over there, and also nutrition. So this is Project Navika for you. This is the kind of a glaring example of what they were in 2017. And 4 years later, the same girls, absolutely one-to-one, the same girls on the right, are pretty much all of them national champions. All of them have represented India. Almost all of them, barring 2 maybe, have traveled to many countries abroad, all sitting out of Hussain Sagar in Hyderabad. So the whole transformative character or the thing of Project Navika is visible here. So let me tell you a little bit about Project Navika. Altogether, we've won about 140 medals. We produced 9 or 10 national champions, 6 state champions. So it's kind of a well-honed set of processes, tested and refined to ensure success. So we provide here a world-class sailing infrastructure, education and life skills, mental health support, coaching, mentoring, training, athlete level nutrition. We provide about 6 meals a day. Starts off at 6:30 in the morning, finishes at about 8 o'clock in the evening. 6 meals a day, including pre-breakfast, warm-up, and then after that there's a post warm-up meal, and there's breakfast, then there's a meal between breakfast and lunch, a small meal, then lunch, then again between lunch and dinner there's another small meal, and so we give them athlete level nutrition, totally tailored to suit children and to suit an athlete level workout. So our entire selection process is tuned to select hardworking, ambitious girls from marginalized communities. To your right is Preeti Kongra. So let's tell you the story of Preeti Kongra. She's now she's been selected for the Asian Games, but 2016, she joined the Navika program. 2019, she was the sub-junior national champion. 2022, senior national champion, very fast. So within 3 years, after being sub-junior national champion, she became senior national champion. 2023 Asian Games, selected for the Asian Games in Hangzhou. And the 2024 Olympic Games Paris, she's not yet selected, but she's going to be going, and she's been nominated for all the selection trials. So this is how focused she is. And to win an Olympic medal, this is an old photograph of hers. This is part of her journey. In 2016, she joined and she became the sub-junior national champion. Then she became the sub-junior national champion. In 2019, she became the sub-junior national champion. And she became national champion across gender. It wasn't that she was the girls' champion or something. She beat the boys and the girls by a huge margin. 2021, she commenced her campaign for the senior. She had a partner from the Navy, and they were in that boat at the back. You can see they're sailing in that boat. And she came in with a silver medal. She's on the left in second position. And then in 2022, she became the national champion and she won the gold medal. And 2023, just a few months ago in September, she was selected for the Asian Games. Sorry, just a few months ago, in February 23, she was selected for the Asian Games. And the Asian Games are going to be in September 2023. So here's the run-up, which I've already mentioned to you. 2021, she was in 5th position. She went up to bronze, then she went up to gold. She dropped down to silver. She came back to gold. She won 2 silvers, but her current rank in India is number 1. That's her mother there. And it's very important that all these athletes get unstinted support from their parents. And that's Vijayalakshmi Kongra, her mother, rock solid support. She's a housekeeping maid at an Airtel office somewhere in Hyderabad, somewhere near the lake. And some of the other champions that we produced, this is Lakshmi Nukaratnam, she's India number 4. Jhansi Priya Laveti, India number 1 in the Optimist class. Dharani Laveti, India number 5 in the same boat as which Preeti sails. She was also a bronze medalist in the nationals. This is Vaishnavi Veeravamsam, who's been to 7 countries actually, and I've already listed those countries for you. And this is, I think, in Bombay. This is Ravali Parandi. She's India number 1 in the juniors and India number 6 in the seniors. So we provide athlete level nutrition. We provide constant education. We run a school on our campus which works on the syllabus of the National Open School. Professional fitness programs. We often work with the same fitness instructors as PV Sindhu. Physio assistance is given at regular intervals, medical assistance, boarding, lodging, all free of cost. So dignity through sports is our tagline. And this is a picture from Hussain Sagar. This was taken during Independence Day. So what's the overall message of this talk? And all you need is a touch of insane kind of sincerity where you really want to be obsessed with something, and the universe will come together to help you take the world to where it ought to be, and from where it is to where you think it ought to be. So if you have the sincerity, I'm sure the world will join hands with you and take you to the next level and help you in whatever causes that you'd like to work with. So the central message is, we go back to my meeting with the IAS officer. Whenever you come up with an idea, whether it's for your personal use, whether it's for your family, whether it's for your neighborhood, whether it's for your state, or whether it's for your country, and you don't know when to start, and you go on asking, just ask yourself a simple question about when you should start. How about tonight? Thank you very much. And this is an overall idea of the kind of work that I'm doing.
Thank you, sir. It has been an amazing presentation that you made about the 15 years of sailing journey that has taken place from 2009 onwards till now, and several accomplishments, and the pictures tell a tale. When the young athletes are taking a position on the boat, look at the face. It is filled with a lot of pride and huge confidence. I think it inspires many, not just youngsters, but it inspires many people looking at them, just the way they are sailing and the kind of posture that they take, sitting on the boat and riding on the waves. It's an amazing hair-raising experience for us when we looked at your presentation. So thank you so much for putting it together. What we will now do is we will try and understand how the universe has come together to help this happen. How did they conspire to help you? I think through some questions and answers, we'll be able to reveal what has actually happened, what is the format, what are the frameworks, and how do we scale it up and take it forward. But in the meantime, let me also acknowledge some of the interesting people who have joined us around the screen this evening. We have Air Marshal Harikumar joining us. We have many other people from around the country. We have one from United States, and leaders from academics, leaders from industry have all joined. I welcome all of them for this amazing conversation that is about to begin now. Thank you very much. I'll request Professor Prasad to commence the first cluster of questions. Over to you, Professor Prasad.
Thank you, Professor Rao. Sir, indeed, it's an inspiring presentation. And I think as India is moving ahead, there are a lot of opportunities, and you have showcased one opportunity which helps people to realize their dreams, give them dignity, and in turn also help a lot of others to start something, if not the same, something similar in sports or something else. So our focus during this discussion will be to see how that can happen, and what is it that is there inside from a leadership point of view, from an organizational point of view. So I'll start there, sir. Of course, we start with the leader. So here the question is, what brought you to this mission, and what was the journey which brought you precisely there?
Okay, I've been sailing since the age of 10 and 11, and I've taken part in a significant number of national championships. I've represented India at 1 or 2 internationals. And one of the key things was I never had the money to take part abroad. I never had the money to even buy myself a pair of shoes or a sail or what, typically what is required. And but I had access to the water. I mean, therefore, I quite enjoyed every moment I was on the water and sailing. And so when the opportunity did arise, and I exited my company, I sold my stock and everything, and I came out. It seemed quite inevitable that, okay, what do I do next? So that's when I went to the government and I said to them that, look, it's important that every citizen of Hyderabad should have access to Hussain Sagar through some kind of a vehicle. They said, fine, that was a great idea. So I thought it's important to throw it open, because we should try and convert a sport as exotic and as elitist as sailing into what's available to the common people. And I took that up, and then I was quite obsessive about going on. And I realized the amount of money it would take and the amount of effort it would take, maybe I would not have started it at that point of time, because it's quite a challenging task. And yes, so here we are with that. So that's the journey.
Excellent, sir. The next question that we come on to is, now that you've touched upon the one of the challenges, how do you manage your budgets? How do you finance?
Well, funding is personal funding, which is I provide the bridges every time the bridging is required. Otherwise, I make phone calls and call up friends, and I tell them to just help. And I've been lucky that being a lot of my batchmates and a lot of my friends and a lot of my associates in the sailing world are in a position to help. So they do, I think, sense, and they've been following the work I've been doing for a long time. So we had zero funding, at least for the first 6-7 years. You go around asking corporates and stuff like that. CSR didn't exist at that point. So you just ask here and there. You get small amounts of money, and most of the money was used for running a championship or an event and branding and stuff like that. So very small amounts of money. But once the results started coming, it's like private equity. Everybody wants it to be a marketable product before they start actually putting in large amounts of money. So once the results started coming, we had national champions, we had the girls doing so well and being selected by India. Moment those inflection points come, then a lot of people feel confident that they are contributing to a good cause, and they are, so the generosity opens up. So it's friends, basically. The entire funding is friends.
That's very interesting. So we move to the next question, and now you've noticed a lot of people who come out of your school, and you've seen them also joining the services, Army, Navy, and of course you have been through this journey. So if you take sailing as a distinct sports, what kind of qualities come up after one has done reasonable amount of that?
Well, I think sense of definitely, like any other sport, confidence is a huge thing. Confidence sometimes to the point of being cocky, but yes, confidence. The other thing is a sense of environment, respect for the environment, because you're not using any engine, you're using just your body, and you're using the wind. So you respect that. You are, you travel all over the world. So again, that contributes to your worldview. You understand different points of view. You travel all over India. That's another thing. You see different parts of India. So as a consequence of your traveling, you understand that you could have setbacks when you lose, like any other sport. You could have a storm in the middle of the sea, and you could realize that either you're being rescued or you're part of a rescue system. So you understand teamwork. You understand the fact that you're part of an ecosystem, that you're not an island on your own. You can't just live life. You will need to be rescued at some point of time, and you need to be helping rescue teams. So all these things, you learn so many things, skills, and the whole business of survival on the water builds a lot of character.
Yes, I think that's very, very distinct. Survival on the water and the kind of waters that you've shown. Amazing, amazing. So the next one, there's a lot of social impact in what you're doing. Now, if you need to look ahead and look at ventures and look at this venture and maybe others who are doing something similar, how do you measure impact that you make? I mean, some of them you've said. I mean, you said national championship, world championship, champions, etc. So, but how do you, at the back of your mind, when you look at yourself, how do you measure this?
The only measure is that if whoever you're working with, gets themselves a good life and gets themselves a good career, and they're happy with what they're doing, I think that's more than enough impact. So the challenge we are facing is like in any other sport, sports is like showbiz. So you might take in about 100, 200, 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 people and train them up, but those who survive the sport are very, very few, because for various reasons. I mean, there may be family issues, there may be academic issues, there may be various other challenges. So the impact basically is, and those who are with you and remain with you on the long run, can you be sure that they are doing much, much better than their peer group, and that they are, their access to education and their access to career opportunities are far superior to everybody else, because we are there to guide them. We have counselors, we have mental counselors, we have career counselors. So that is the impact, and to give them really, really good careers. And most of them come from, all of them actually come from extremely poor backgrounds. So the average salary would be of the family would probably be between, between 10,000 to about a maximum of about 25,000 rupees a month. That's very, very meager. And they come from very small villages, very small towns, and sometimes definitely from the city, from very small slum areas. So that impact, if you change their lives, I think we are happy enough. There
Excellent.
are questions on chat here. Do you want me to read them?
We'll be taking that, sir.
Okay.
As we go along, we'll be incorporating that, and some of them will also be speaking to you. Sure. So the next one is, is this scalable? I mean, you've converted it to now a sports foundation, so you must be having something in your mind. Is this scalable? What are the facilitators and inhibitors in this journey of scaling up?
So the challenges to scaling up is basically, the last mile, actually getting people to the sport. So we've now created a mobilization unit whose primary job is only to mobilize and to get more and more children to the sport, because the per capita cost of sailing is extremely high. So each of those boats costs us about 3.5 lakhs. The larger boats cost us about 14 lakhs. The even bigger boats, which Preeti is sailing together today, cost about 16, 18 lakhs. So they are very, very expensive. The championship abroad sometimes costs us close to about 25 lakhs. Preeti is on the campaign. So every championship she goes for, she recently come back from Italy. That championship cost us exactly 25 lakhs. So, and it's pretty much the same across the board. Even if you're doing badminton, it's the same. So sports at the top level is very expensive. So having spent so much of money, it's not enough to create one Preeti. It's a good thing if we can create 100 of them. So therefore, the denominator of the per capita has to go up. And we need to, scaling for us is not a problem because we have those. We are the only club. I think we are probably we're definitely the largest in the country. We're probably one of the largest in the world in terms of being a charitable institution. There is no parallel anywhere in the world. Nobody else exists. But in terms of being, in terms of the numbers who actually graduate from our club, we are a little on the low side. So we increase the denominator, and therefore the per capita will come down. And that's what we're focusing on now.
Excellent. And in terms of leadership and the next generation and the team and the organization that you have, any thoughts when it scales up?
Yeah, in a sense, when I ran the software company, I had a very, very slick, towards the last 3-4 years, I had a very slick second line. So I pretty much didn't have to do anything. And the second line was really, really good. So I'm working on that now. I'm building a second line. We've got many more people. We're hiring people from, also from the armed forces. And we're trying to create, otherwise I would do everything, right from buying the boats to cleaning them to, making sure they're secure, locking the place up, everything I would do. I'm doing the coaching. I'm talking to the federation, pretty much everything. So I'm bringing in more and more people so that there is a nice administrative layer. And then we just move up to the board level and the rest of it is taken care of. So that leadership is that legacy and succession planning is happening right now.
That's fantastic, sir. I think, the experience in the earlier venture, I'm sure would also play its role. You're foreseeing all this happening, and it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
Last question here, sir, before we move to the next cluster. Today, sports is not in the mainframe of academics, though it's also an optional. Now, what do you think? What are your thoughts on this? What needs to be done to get it into the mainstream of academics too?
Well, if you want to get it into the level at which it is in the US and the UK and all that, where you can actually, get a sports scholarship, I think that's going to take a while. But I think a lot of the guys like Abhinav Bindra, etc., they've created foundations and they are funding sports people. And I think most of them, just like us, we are also now going to be called WiseViews Foundation. Most of them, I think, are also focusing on the fact that sports people, not all of them succeed. Therefore, they need to have alternative careers. So therefore, sports scholarships, there are institutions like Go Sports and Simply Sports who work on sports scholarships. They provide people funding. So it is going to move in that direction and making it. A lot of institutions definitely have a sports quota. A lot of public sector units hire you and give you jobs. We haven't come to that stage as yet because the oldest is Preeti and she's 18 years old. So it'll take some time before they start looking out for jobs. But I think the public sector units do recognize, let's see, it'll take some time.
Excellent, sir. I think, this sets the stage for taking it ahead. We come to the end of the first cluster. I hand it back to Professor Rao for the next.
I have been waiting in my sales. I've known Suheim ji as a person who loved black t-shirts back in the days of SDG software. And he used to be very, very meticulous about the seam, the thread, the count, and highly precision oriented about the black t-shirts he loved. I don't know if you still love the black t-shirts, but the next avatar of setting a lot of people on the sales is something which has happened without being very conscious of it, as far as I'm concerned. And a lot of friends have read about your accomplishments and the success stories. It is so nice to understand how you began and where you have reached, sir. One small question I'll begin with, and also I request all the members around the screen to raise their hand so that you can directly talk to the leader. And whatever questions that you type, you can also pick up the same question and ask Mr. Suheim Sheikh. But before that, let me take up one question. So what is the methodology for this catchment? We wanted more and more underprivileged kids to come to the institute. What is the methodology adopted? Is it an interest shown by them, or you have a particular methodology to reach out to them and create that awareness level and also enthusiasm in them to come and start sailing with you?
Yeah, that's an often asked question. And what at the age of 9, 10, and 11 and 12 also, it's very tough. In fact, much later, even if today you ask me, well, what are you really interested in? What's your future? It's a little tough question to answer. But kids are all talented in some way or the other. It's a question of discovering which part of the talent they want to try. So we just bring in kids. We go to government schools, we go to small private schools, and just ask, explain the system to the principals, explain to them that it's completely free of charge, explain to the parents, tell them, show them pictures of what has happened in the past. And you don't know what spark you've inspired in anybody, they just come. Let's assume 100 kids come. The survival rate at the end is probably in the range of about 10, 11, 12, that range. Could be even smaller. They come in and we test them through basic physicals, like are they physically basically fit? Are they looking, are the parents supporting them? Will the parents support coming to the club and taking them back? Are the parents comfortable with so many aspects of the fact that it's a water sport? Have the kids got a sense of balance, which is very important in any sport? If you have a sense of balance, be it football, gymnastics, or badminton, or or cricket or sailing, you need to have a sense of balance. We check their sense of balance. We check their spiritedness. I mean, in a sense, very often the most talkative and the most spirited kid is always selected irrespective of their physical capability, because we feel physical capability and nutrition and all that is taken care of. Parental support over the long term is very, very important, because India has this huge problem of festivals and going away to the village. So what happens is while the school is in progress, the parents are sending the kids to school, and then they don't have time because they have to study. As soon as the holidays start, everybody goes off to the village because the parents can't handle the kids at home. So that's a huge problem in terms of parental support. Will the parents bring them, take them back? And will the parents support them on the long run? Will the parents buy them a water bottle? Will the parents, send them with, let's say, a banana and maybe 2 eggs? Because we want the parents to have a stake. So these are the challenges we face. And so there is no real selection process. There's a little bit of weeding out which happens from our side, probably about 15%. A lot of them drop out entirely on their own. So for various reasons. We even had children who had to leave because the parents wanted them to work, as soon as school is over, and we used to find them somewhere on Tangbund selling peanuts and stuff like that. So we try our best, but finally those who survive really survive, and they stick on and they slowly get the benefits out of this.
Great, sir. Great. I think when you are focused only on underprivileged children to be part of this exercise, I'm sure I have seen some pictures which you presented just now. One picture with Dr. R.S. Praveen Kumar, which means that some of the schools run by the Gurukul in Telangana, some of the schools of which are run by government outside the Gurukul. I think these names we have seen. So in terms of targeting, in terms of reaching out, I'm sure you'll be focusing on these schools. But aside of these schools, are the students who do not belong to any school, do they join you, sir?
We haven't been able to tap that because my mobilization team is just 2 people right now. And they've been mobilizing only for the last 3-4 months, and then the holidays hit. So it'll really depend on how they go, and maybe go to places like orphanages and all that, where some kids probably don't even go to school. And I think Anganwadis and stuff like that. So it's a question of how we structure the entire mobilization process and how we bring it's our problem is that we can't, all the kids have to come pretty much at the same time. So one of the problems we face is that last mile problem is huge, getting them to the location. So we're working with NGOs now, but those NGOs face absolutely the same problem as us, which is getting them to the location. We have 2 locations now. We have one at Hussain Sagar, which has been there for 15 years. We have one at Durgam Cheruvu. The Durgam Cheruvu it's called water school. It's not designed for underprivileged, because in the middle of high-tech city where the money of Hyderabad is. That's designed for the elite. That's designed for those who can afford the sport. So yes, mobilization is this year's big focus.
Great, sir. Now, there are some questions which the audience would like to ask you directly. We'll take one now, and then I'll go to the existing questions that I have. Dr. Lakshman, would you like to ask the question?
Hi, sir. Good evening, sir, Sudhakar, sir. And good evening, Sheikh. I'm a sports person personally. So that's why I understand the clear sportsmanship and his intentions and psychology. Because I got my...
Can I see you?
Sir?
Can I see you? I can't see you, so.
Okay.
Can you please turn on your video?
Yeah, actually.
Okay, that's fine.
Turn off my videos, sir, because of my office meetings, the project managers are, suddenly switching on their videos sometimes. That's why.
No problem.
Yes, sir. So I try to go to my settings and doing the things, but thanks for, asking me to go forward. Yes, sir. Even I understand the sportsmanship, sir. I played cricket for my university from PP Siddhartha College, Vijayawada. And I was the cultural leader from that, college, and won national and state level and city level, many things, sir, almost 50. And I understood when the winning stage comes and how that feels and all that. So my question to you, sir, in our regions, in India especially, people are going to the sports, okay? But when they go to the sport will attract them in the same way, because sport will attract them when they go to that particular place. Why can't the sport go to the people, sir? In India, what I thought, because in the place in US where I am, the sport will go to the people, and most of the people attract to the sports in that particular way. That's why even the mental health and the physical health will also improve in the long term.
Good question. In India, there are lots of NGOs now working on volleyball and football and hockey and badminton, lots of people, and the sport is going to the people. And there's lots of grassroots level work happening, and we are just one of the many. So it's not, over the last 15 years, in sailing, we are unique, but in sports, we are far from unique. There's enough and more work going. So you have people going down to the grassroots in Chhattisgarh and Bihar and, Assam. And so the people are moving, and the administrators are moving down, and lots of people working on sports. So I think that problem is pretty much solved.
Thanks for the answer, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So there is one question that is flashing on the Q&A box. If Chitra is not asking the question, I will take it up. So the question is like this: as an individual, you have been doing a lot and really appreciating, but don't you think the government should promote sports and also give recognition to these athletes, their contribution, and identify? So is the support from government lacking? Probably that is the question.
Not at all. The government support is definitely there. The government, creates these facilities. Pretty much all sports facilities anywhere in the country, be it state, are all created by government. They're not created by private industry. The government provides the land, the government makes the buildings, the government, provides you access to water if it's sailing, and pretty much everything has been funded by government. So, and when it comes to, for example, recently, I think Nikhat Zareen was given, I think, 1.5 crores to fund her Asian Games campaign. And I think that's huge government support. It's not small. The government does. And so, like I said, when I started this, you read the newspapers, you get very skeptical about what government does. But when you start experiencing it, you start experiencing many IPS officers, IAS officers, the bureaucracy, the lower cadre. You realize that the government is actually doing a hell of a lot, not just for sports, for everything as far as marginalized. India is designed for the marginalized. So there's a hell of a lot of work that's put in to uplift the marginalized, and about, I think, 90% of that comes from government. It doesn't come from private industry.
So the government is doing enough, and there's support always forthcoming whenever we ask
You
for
have
an
an idea.
idea.
Yeah, you have an idea, the government will come across.
Correct. Wonderful, sir. That's very, very heartening to know about that the government is supporting. So one more related question that we have is about creating these sports-specific schools from mid-school onwards. The very concept itself is basically not to affect the academic pursuit. If you start from mid-school level, it is probably not affecting academic pursuits. How is this concept? What are your comments on this?
You're talking about sports schools?
Sports schools specific with sports.
Yeah, I don't know of too many who are actually doing that. I know some are there in the development phase. Some have a focus on sports. I remember my school, I'm from HPS, and I remember my school had a lot of focus on sports. But that was a side focus. It wasn't the mainline focus. However, we remember all our sports persons. We hardly remember the guys who did well academically. But yeah, well, it's a mix. I can't say one or the other. But sports schools in particular, I'm sure, there is one golf sports school in Bangalore. There is probably a few come up for football. But they cannot ignore, under any circumstances, they cannot ignore the academic stream. They have to focus on the academic stream, because survival in sports, just like in films and in music and in arts, is a couple of basis points. That's it. It's very, very low. So they have to focus. You have to make sure that you take care of those who don't make it in sports.
That's a very, very practical view of the sports that you're actually championing, sir. Thank you very much. We can't ignore academics, and we need to have enough focus on that as well. Sir, the other thing is in terms of schools in Hyderabad, we have one Suchitra Academy where a lot of sporting activity happens. I don't know if it is a sports-focused school, but a lot of sporting things happen, like badminton, training for PV Sindhu, so on and so forth, that I heard. This is an example of Hyderabad, apart from the examples that you have given from Bangalore and other parts.
Preeti Kongara, our Asian, and all our top girls actually go to Suchitra for their fitness. There's a gentleman by the name of Kiran over there. Praveen Raju heads it along with his brother. And it's a fantastic place in terms of the quality of service and there, and they don't, I mean, it's quite an amazing place. So apart from PV Sindhu, the other day Preeti had a chest kind of strain or sprain and injury, and they physio over there fixed it in something like actually 5 minutes. She was suffering for 25 days. In 5 minutes, the pain just disappeared. So I have a very deep respect. They allowed us to use their swimming pool, and it's really, really nice. It's a lovely place. Yes.
Great. One piece of information is that Professor Prasad is actually sitting right next to Suchitra Academy, and he is actually taking this session from there.
Oh, okay.
Right now. Yeah. We have an establishment. ICFAI has an office there, a large establishment, reasonably large. Earlier, we used to run our ICFAI Tech from the Suchitra campus on lease, and now we restricted ourselves to one building in a corner, which is our own. And we operate a lot of programs and backend works, certification, examination results, so on and so forth. But yes, Suchitra Academy is one name which is always there for us to look at every day, day in and day out. Thank you, sir. So one more question I'll take up before others raise their hand. There is something called psychological safety for sportswomen. How do we ensure that? Because we hear a lot of hue and cry in this area. A lot of problems are probably addressed and not addressed as well. I'm not trying to be political, but at the same time, this is an issue that we cannot sweep under the carpet. How do we ensure psychological safety for sportswomen, especially when we participate in elite sports like this and a few other sports as well?
Very tough in the sense we've had enough and more experiences ourselves. And patriarchal society, so as a consequence of which the female is on. Our Navika project is just pure female. I mean, there's no, Navika means female sailors. So we've been focusing on girls for a very long time. And when we send them out, there's this patriarchal thing of very often male coaches just address only the males, and the females are treated in a secondary manner. Like, for example, a lot of our sailors have, crews, which means they are helming the boat. They're the skippers, they're the captains, and they have crews who are 10, 15 years older than them and males, because they are in the mixed class. It's like mixed doubles in tennis. And very often there's a domineering impact of the male on the female, because despite the fact that the female may be incredibly achieved, it is still not as much recognized as if a male were incredibly achieved. Yes, that's one problem. In terms of mental health, yes, it's a problem. I don't think India understands mental health. It's a huge problem. You have top psychology institutions, who kind of parade around as mental health experts and counseling experts, but very rarely do you really find, I mean, there are very, very few, I think, professionals, and I found probably just one or two, who are able to actually counsel sensibly when an athlete is going through ups and downs and bad phases of losing and having maybe health issue. We have a lot of let's say exposure to domestic abuse. So fathers very often are not working. Fathers very often are drunk. Fathers very often are beating up the girls, beating up the wife. All these things happen. So yeah, so these issues there. And what happens very often is, unfortunately, somehow the girls get used to being badly treated, in a sense. So they think, yeah, being badly treated is normal. And so you have to kind of bring them out of that. So we have lots and lots of, sessions, what we call life skill sessions, and teaching them that, that these are completely wrong attitudes. They should simply not accept it. And so, yeah, social skills, all these things are built into our program.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for acknowledging that there are problems and also having a mechanism to address those problems in terms of sessions with top psychologists and also on life skills, counseling sessions to take care and address these issues. Wonderful. I'm inviting Chitra to raise the question herself because there's an additional question. So I'm requesting, if it is okay with you,
Sure.
kindly take the question. Otherwise, I'll wait till you take it up.
Sure.
Sir, I'll go on with my other questions till then. How can we ensure, in the sense, this is like a question of bringing the successful sports persons from around our times, like in the recent past, whoever have been successful, to work towards ensuring that they also get into a space that you have taken up. For example, you were a sailor, there was a passion that you converted into helping the underprivileged, and you have created an institution for that. Similarly, how can we inspire and get the successful sports persons of recent times following your footsteps and doing it? So that's the overall question.
You mean in other sports, or you mean
In other sports, any sport for that matter?
Well, I think a lot of people are already doing it. You have a lot of cases in golf. You have a lot of, I think, cricket by itself. I mean, from gully cricket, and most of the Indian Test team, I think, would have played gully cricket at some point of time. A large number of sports persons, be it athletics or be it cricket, actually come from a background which used to find almost everything unaffordable. They've been successful. So yeah, I think a lot of work is already being done on that. So I think, but some of the sports, like probably like maybe tennis and stuff, it requires a different level of affordability. Sailing requires, in most of the world and most of the country, it's an elite sport. You need to be really rich to be part of sailing. So it's why have I taken this up? Well, I have, because I have the skill. And and we managed to get where we are. But we are also giving it a rethink. It's going on all my mind. Should we move into other sports? We're changing the name from Yacht of Hyderabad to WiseViews Foundation, primarily because we want to move into table tennis, move into other sports, wherein we can provide opportunities which per capita is much lower.
That's great news, actually. You're diversifying into other sports to be more inclusive and to extend the kind of help and assistance and inspiration, and also, above all, instilling dignity among the children, among the youngsters when they are brought into this fold. That's amazing, sir. That diversification is actually very, very healthy, and I wish you all the best on that count. I'll take up that question that Chitra was trying to ask is the overall discussion concluding that we are doing pretty well in sports? Is it so? Or what is more to be done?
We can't say we're doing well, but we're definitely on the ascendant. And things are improving pretty much every day. I'm part of some sports groups here and there, and you can see quite a few jobs. Those jobs are definitely not going to be as paying as other jobs. But yes, people doing sports MBAs are getting jobs. It's still tough, but I can see a silver lining, and I can see that, yes, sports careers are opening up. So we are doing a good job, no doubt, but are we doing, is it moving fast enough? I think time will tell, but I think it is moving. India is recognizing sports as a serious activity.
Great, great. Very optimistic on that count. Thank you, sir. One more related question in terms of selection of athletes. I'm sure this question has come on the basis of what is observed around the country. The discrepancies in selection of athletes and how to monitor so that we end up creating jewels in sports. This is more of a concern based on observations that we make on and off.
I think in sailing over the last 5-6 years, there's been a dramatic shift by the federation into working purely on numbers. So you conduct a selection trials, you conduct a second selection trials, you conduct a third selection trials. The rules for selection are very clear. They are purely numerical. So whether you're a great sailor and you, for some reason, are number 2, you don't get selected. If you're it's purely based on merit, on how you have performed. If that's the way all federations work, if they create clear standing infrastructure for ranking of athletes, and selection is purely based on numbers and not on subjective considerations, and therefore there is no subjective consideration. I like so and so, and I don't like so and so, and I prefer this person, and I don't prefer that person. Zero subjective considerations. I think all federations will really do well.
Great, sir. Great suggestion there. I have requested Wing Commander Gaurpati to raise the question himself. Over to you, Wing Commander.
I can read his question. I've got it here.
Yes. He's saying, can we contribute in any other form to the cause that you are espousing other than finances? Since many people around the screen are elite, I mean, that quote unquote elite.
Yeah. So, in the sense, if you have connections with NGOs, if you have, if you have access to children who can't come to the location, if you have access to children who would like to try out the sport, you're most welcome to drop by. We work largely through NGOs, or we work with children who are nearby the lake. It's very difficult for us to work with children who are not far from the lake, who can't come to the premises. So if parents are willing to bring them to the premises, or if y'all are willing to organize buses to bring them and somebody can fund that part of it, then we are willing to do the entire thing free, provided the child is unprivileged. That's definitely one of the contributions you can make.
Okay. Okay. So contribution is welcome, and we are all supposed to. I think my own reading is that we make a visit first and see the facilities and the people around there, and then I'm sure more organically we'll be inclined to contributing in our own way, other than finances probably, and finances included. Probably that there is a methodology to even take that. We can definitely go. So there was one more question from Chitra, but I said you can ask directly. Let's see if I'll just connect. Yeah, over to you, Chitra.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Till someone becomes sure. Yeah, I think getting ready.
Yes. Very good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to ask my question. Sir, I just want to ask that, there are different type of sports, and in school days, this was a compulsory subject, I think, and every student have to participate in that. So this trend should carry on in the graduation level also, what I feel, because if this practice will continue, the interest will be there, and ultimately it will reflect our health issues, health problems can be taken care and all. So directly, indirectly, people will be somehow attached with this. So just a concern that why only during the school days this subject was compulsory. It should be carry on in your graduation level also. Like UGC had made a lot of changes in the curriculum and all, but they have not giving much emphasis to these area. Like now Modi ji has started with the yoga, and but if you are promoting yoga, it should make something compulsory, so that everybody should take part in that. So somehow some changes should be brought down so that more and more participation should be there. This is just a concern.
My school sports was compulsory. You had to go. If you missed sports, you were penalized. And I think, yeah, it's an important thing to make it compulsory in some way or the other. And it creates, I think nobody regrets being part of the sport.
Yeah, like I'm from a university. We have a sports complex, or sometime UGC or other committee, they come and see. But internally, I don't think they go and seriously watch that whether the activities are being taking place or not. Though we are making the all the curriculum fit for that, but ultimately the practice part is missing.
That's true.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Sir, one question I would like to take up before I request Professor Prasad to come back for any question. That is, do sportsmen generally display more productive behavior at workplaces? Are there studies for that? And therefore, how do we inculcate integrity and sportsman spirit through games and sports?
Well, it's a tough question to answer, but it's also at some level controversial, because you've had lots of negative examples of sportspersons messing up their own lives, messing up other people's lives, ruining organizations. You've had administrators doing that. You've heard the latest. You've heard all about the FIFA story. You've heard absolutely, and at the same time, you've heard about Pele, and so many absolutely fine examples like Dravid and Sachin and stuff like that. So it's kind of a mixed bag. But I think overall, the kind of discipline, the confidence, the the experience of winning and losing, and treating winning and losing as part of life, and the whole business of perseverance playing a big role in somebody's life. Working hard, the connection between hard work and success is very, very clear in sports. The harder you work, you will get forward. Nothing's going to stop you, but you got to work really hard. Then the whole aspect of you haven't lost till you've given up is also another thing that you learn in sports, and that's again something to do with perseverance. So I think it's a mixed bag, but it's but sports, no sports is is that same old adage which says all work and no play. So makes Jack a dull boy, which is very true. So what do you do if you're not going to be a part of a sport? Like you've done with this, you can't be studying 24 hours. You could be. And if you're writing one of these big competitive exams in India, you could be studying 24 hours, and then you get back to sports after that. But I've noticed the overall cheerfulness, character levels of all these sports persons is of a much higher caliber than those who are non-sports. There are definitely exceptions to the rule. I mean, I have a lot of academic friends who have studied all their lives, never been part of a sport, and yet display a great amount of character. But I think sports is a good thing to be part of in the absence of anything else.
Great, sir. Thank you so much. I'll request Professor Prasad if he has any question, and then I'll sum it up, sir.
Yes, sir. I think as you said, we are on the ascendant in sports. When do you see the day when, we will be getting a large number of medals in most international sports competition? I mean, what kind of time frame do you see ahead for this?
It depends on what you really mean by large. I mean, if you're talking about, let's say, in the range of at least about 10 to 15 Olympic medals, I would predict probably in the range of 15 years to 20 years from now. So we're talking about LA Olympics or beyond that. That's when, and it's a question of how much of a bench you can produce. So the reason for cricket being as good as it is because the bench is very large. And so is the case of badminton. I mean, the bench is really huge. To get into the top, to win a national in badminton is very, very tough. So if people work hard towards lengthening the bench and making more and more people fight really hard to even win a nationals, that's when we've made it.
Maybe to the level that China does?
I think that's going to take another 40 years.
40 years. Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Great, sir. It's been a very, very engaging and very interesting conversation, very unusual.
I must put a disclaimer to the China bit, because China's methods are quite, I think, different from the methods the rest of the world uses. And they start really, really young. I think they start at 6 and 7, and they start working on the bodies of the gymnasts and making them more and more permanently flexible, etc. So they start really early. It's quite a crazy setup. And that's true of a lot of countries also, even in the US. If you read stories of how the gymnasts have been brought up from a very young age, obsessive parents, helicopter parenting. Whether that's healthy or not is a different issue. But I think in India, it's not that bad. I mean, people come more voluntarily than otherwise. So yeah, I'm happier with the Indian system than with the other system. But it's because of those systems that they are where they are and we are where we are. It doesn't mean that we need to get there with their methods.
Great, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much for the disclaimer as well. So this is a very interesting conversation, as I was mentioning, offbeat from the regular conversations that we have in terms of business, in terms of leadership from a few other obvious walks of life. Sports, we have had a few. We had in the past Dr. Vijay Barse talking about football taken to the underprivileged children. He came on the same platform and he spoke to all of us and inspired us. We had a cycling expert coming and speaking to us. He's also from Hyderabad. And Mr. Suheim Sheikh today has enlightened us about the very, very interesting work that he's doing and sharply focused on uplifting underprivileged kids. This is a story for all of us, how a pioneering software engineer has pursued his passion after, it is literally and truly, he sold his company and then invested his energy and time and money in building what is called the Yacht Club of Hyderabad, and subsequent spirit of taking people to the sailing. This is no small story, although we are talking about a timeline of 15 years before which it started. But there's a huge promise, and it is getting noticed everywhere, not just in India, but also abroad. And I'm sure very soon we are going to see the results nationally and internationally. More number of medals that are going to be won, more number of kids hitting the waters and hitting the competitions in India and abroad. And I'm sure kids like Preeti winning Olympic medals is not very far. I think this is what we all have to learn. And apart from the success stories, the very effort is an inspiring story for us to draft some of us into doing something in our own domain. I think that's the purpose of these WiseViews conversations. How do we pick up inspiring stories and apply it to our own domains and get back to it? But I see a very strong connect here with Mr. Suheim Sheikh, starting from humble background himself, and the streak continued at IIT Madras as well in terms of championing the problems of the subaltern groups. And it continued further after developing that crime software and also establishing that and selling it to various banks in India and abroad. And then finally coming back and taking to sailing. While he himself was sailing, he has started this academy to develop underprivileged kids to get into this. An elite sport made accessible to the downtrodden. I think that's the summary that we have had today. The other important takeaway is that when we do this job properly, when we have a method to it, and when we have passion overflowing, we'll have stories of Sachin, stories of Rajnikant, stories of Preeti, pun intended, because these names are also popular sports persons. I'm sure everyone has become very, very popular. It's all started with the burning desire to make it happen. It is no small wonder. It's a very, very big effort, and we recognize that. At ICFAI, we realize that sticking to one's commitment of making something roll out and work out for a large number of kids or large number of users is not easy at all. Against several hurdles, I'm sure you're very positive and optimistic, and every adverse situation, you have converted that into a positive situation. But yes, we cannot ignore the hurdles and the challenges that you have faced, sir. And that's a lesson for all of us. That's what I wanted to highlight on us. And the promising or the optimistic outlook that you have taken in terms of how government is supporting such initiatives, how private people also are coming forward, NGOs are also coming forward. Although government is the biggest supporter, I think there is a ray of hope, and there's always an encouragement for the people who have such ideas to go and talk to the government and take their support and roll out their plans. So the transformative journey that you have begun for the kids is a hugely satisfying journey within yourself. It has connected your passion to the sport that you believed in, and at a larger level, of course, making this elite sport accessible to the downtrodden. It is a fantastic story that we have. We can't ignore academics. I mean, that's something which you've held very high. And patriarchal society throws problems at us all the time, and we need to have a mechanism to address the psychological problems that the sports women face, sports kids to women, all of them face. And I'm sure that's where it is. And objective assessment of athletes in terms of rankings without bringing subjectivity is one short method of making it accessible to everyone, and giving a belief that there's a fair chance for everyone to actually make it to the sport when the selections are happening. While there are wrong examples of sportsmen's behavior, but largely, by and large, sports definitely induces better behavior in terms of not just in their workplace, but also in social life. There is a very strong evidence and correlation between hard work and results as far as sports is concerned. And therefore, that is a lesson for us to take away today. Barring exceptions, I'm sure this is widely acknowledged, and we need to focus on that beautifully. Now, when you have built these youngsters when you have shown them the dignity, when you have instilled pride in them, in the pictures that we have noticed today, sir, some of the pictures that you have displayed, they have very strong shoulders. I have seen that. Very strong shoulders figuratively to carry the large number of medals that they are wearing on their neck, and also to hold their head firmly and proudly high. Thank you so much for bringing this transformation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you enough.
Great talking to you guys.
So, ladies and gentlemen, while I parked one important thought, China's methods are different. We will visit that thought next week. We are bringing Air Marshal Anil Khosla to talk about what is called the strategic thinking, the dragon versus the elephant, next Friday on June 9th at 6:30 p.m. Till then, please read more about the YCH. Please read more about what is happening on Hussain Sagar and what is happening in Durgam Cheruvu in Hyderabad, and how these transformative journeys within journeys are taking place, and try and extend some help and reach out to the kids who are interested and who can make a difference to their own life and also to the society around themselves. This is a larger lesson, and to this evening on Friday, we are going to have this weekend in celebration of a passion that is turned into a very useful exercise for the society. Thank you all. See you next Friday at 6:30 p.m. Thank you very much, sir. We can't thank you enough. On behalf of everyone here and on behalf of ICFAI, we are very grateful to you. Thank you. We'll visit you and try and see what we can do more about it. Thank you, sir, and good night to everyone.